welcome back. Man Cave Classroom in A10, Heat and Kogun, analyzing some textbooks from the Korean War, which is kind of interesting because they're going to get into how this war started, and we're going to look to see if these textbooks actually agree.
Line up.
Line up.
Which is a good lesson just in sourcing and reliability of information,
Right.
And especially bias,
Yeah.
as to who wrote the particular textbook and what perspective they're looking at it.
I mean, just-
I just threw in a bunch of historical
Oh
thinking terms.
gosh! I mean, just because it's in a textbook doesn't mean the information is actually accurate.
Yeah.
You have to look at.
I've actually read a textbook from a southern high school in the 1950s that said slaves enjoyed being slaves, and it was like a party for them.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's all about sources. I mean, it's where it's coming from.
Yes.
I mean, if there's something that makes you scratch your head, I guess you could say, or kind of wonder or tilt, you want, where are they getting this from?
Yep.
Which is really important. So let's look at the first textbook. Put this down so I can keep track here. So upset by the fast and astonishing growth of the power of the Republic, the American invaders hastened the preparation of an aggressive war in order to destroy it in its infancy. The American imperialists furiously carried out the war project in 1950. The American invaders, who had been preparing the war for a long time alongside their puppets, finally initiated the war on June 25th of the 39th year of the Juche calendar. That dawn, the enemies unexpectedly attacked the north half of the Republic, and the war clouds hung over the once peaceful country, accompanied by the echoing roar of cannons. Having passed the 38th parallel, the enemies crawled deeper and deeper into the north half of the Republic. The invading forces of the enemies had to be eliminated, and the threatened fate of our country and our people had to be saved. So I guess they didn't have a thesaurus because they keep using the same words over and over again. Probably deliberate.
Yes. And looking at perspective.
Right.
The American imperialists,
Yep.
American invaders.
Aggressive.
I'm assuming that we, the United States, are being viewed as the enemies here.
Right, because we are the invading forces.
Yes.
The enemy.
Enemy again. Enemies crawl deeper and deeper. That I'm gonna guess that this was a North Korean textbook.
Sure.
And that you can almost, just by reading this, begin to understand why in 2021, if students are reading this in a North Korean textbook today, why they hate America so much.
Right.
And
I look at what's missing. I mean, I'm
Of the
sure.
con- yeah.
Where's the evidence? Again, something you're looking at when you're looking at primary and secondary sources. It's just, where's the evidence to support this claim? How do you know we invaded? I mean, give me some details. There's a lot of, all right, great, you have all of this. And of course, we're just looking at one part, right? But, there is what's missing. Give me the action that was taken. It's just aggressive, furious, imperialist, and certain words that are just mentioned a couple of times.
They do give us a date, which is interesting.
Right.
I'd like to know when the Korean War actually started.
Right.
I have no idea what the 39th year of the Juche calendar means as far as our Julian calendar.
Right.
Right.
Okay, let's look at another textbook. Let's see how this goes. Let's see what they have to say here. When the overthrow of the South Korean government through social confusion became too difficult, the North Korean communists switched to a stick and carrot strategy. Seeming to offer peaceful negotiations, they were instead analyzing the right moment of attack and preparing themselves for it. The North Korean communists prepared themselves for war. Kim Il-sung secretly visited the Soviet Union and was promised the alliance of the Soviets and China in case of war. Finally, at dawn on June 25th, 1950, the North began their southward aggression along the 38th parallel. Taken by surprise at these unexpected attacks, the Army of the Republic of Korea, South Korea, fought courageously to defend the liberty of the country. The armed provocation of the North Korean communists brought the UN Security Council around the table. A decree denounced the North Korean military action as illegal and as a threat to peace, and a decision was made to help the South. The UN Army constituted the armies of the 16 countries, among them the United States, Great Britain, and France. joined the South Korean forces in the battle against the North. Right?
I don't know what to believe now.
Right?
But
We now got June 25th, 1950.
okay, so there is some similarities there. There's June 25th of that year 39, so I'm assuming it's the same year. There's probably an agreement on the date.
Sure.
But textbook A was telling us that the American enemies invaded the North.
Right.
Where this one is stating that the North Korean communists were invading south of that 38th parallel line. But there seems to be a lot more evidence, as you suggested before.
Sure. Kim Il-sung secretly visited the Soviet Union.
Specifically naming more countries.
Yep.
The United Nations, that the UN Security Council was being invoked here.
Sure.
Which, if we do go back to what was happening, the Soviet Union was boycotting the Security Council.
Sure.
At the time. So that's why the UN gets involved here, because we would not officially recognize communist China. We were still recognizing free China as the seat. It's mind-blowing how different two textbooks could be, which is why, personally, I don't use them anymore.
Right.
And I know you don't as well.
No.
You know, we are on a mission of just finding
I would rather
primary
just use the
sources
primary sources because
and make the conclusion for yourself.
I mean, I would like to, the great thing about using a textbook is like, okay, look what they have here, and looking at the sources and where they did well or left out things. I mean, clearly, you go here, there was quite a few things that were left out. This also does speak to, when you're looking at textbooks, and a lot of textbooks are being used in schools or colleges, there is that, an explanation, because you bring up the South. There is that explanation where it's like, if this is how you are taught at a very young age, depending on when this information is getting to you, it's very difficult for you to erase it or to accept something else.
Now, what I'm doing from this, though,
Sure.
in my classroom, and I know you would do the same,
Yeah.
is I'm now going to find primary sources that, watch this word, corroborate
Yeah, exactly.
one of the two textbooks, which actually happened. Here's 5 or 6 different primary sources. See which ones corroborates the story of textbook A or corroborates the story of textbook B. Because I think you'd be really hard pressed to find corroborating evidence for textbook A.
Sure.
And
the thing is that when you're looking at a textbook, okay, it has a hard copy. It looks reliable. A teacher is
shiny
using it.
pictures.
Unless you question this and ask the why and look for other evidence to either support or deny this, you're really not going to know the truth.
Yeah, I think it was Aristotle, who famously said, challenge everything.
Yeah.
Question everything until you come to a good conclusion.
Cool.
And yeah, I think you'd be really hard pressed to find any corroborating primary source evidence that this is the version of how the Korean War started.
Or, the author went, well, this is what the government told us.
Exactly.
That's it.
When you're talking about communism and suppression of thought and
Sure.
their need to control thought, the easiest way to control people's thoughts is through education.
Sure.
Or the lack thereof.
But, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. Anything else in here? I like
No.
this comparison. All right, cool. Thank you for watching.